This last sub pack usually lives in that 3-day pack also, but it wasn't in there when I unpacked it. But I'm going to go ahead and include it in these videos because it does normally live in there. And it's some sort of European pouch that I got long time ago through some catalog store or maybe a surplus store, I really forget. It's got pretty dependable, sturdy D-rings for a strap and for tying it to your waist if you wanted to do that. The bottom is sort of leather, and then these attachment points are sort of the old style leather slit and a thing that it locks on. They work pretty well for me though, and it's super strong. I keep a Garmin GPS radio, the Rhino, in there. I've got this small pack, and then there's this plastic bag for no reason. And then on the outside is sort of the signaling component, and I've got some light sticks that I've busted into. These were cheap dollar store ones, but they turned out to work pretty darn well as signaling lights. I've got some more standard glow sticks. I've got some 550 cord that's sort of knotted up. It's one length. Then I've got a re-rolled piece of duct tape on a sardine key so that it has sort of an eyelet with some 550 cord. This used to be some electrical tape wrapped around a section of Bic pen. So there's a plastic cylinder there with some electrician's tape wrapped around it. But what happens if you're not real consistent with the electrician's tape, it's not as forgiving as the duct tape, and what happens, it sort of spools off the side here and kind of gets messed up. It still works, but it looks kind of funky. So there's also some of this Hunter's signaling tape. This is sort of like police tape, except that after time it degrades. It's meant for hunters to be able to mark a path or something and not have to go back and remove it. It'll just sort of disintegrate with light and water. And then I have a CountyComm orange LED. It's pretty grimy from being out in the dust, but it still works, and it's got the clip on it, and I just leave that here in the pouch again so that there's always just a little LED light handy somewhere. So what this signal pouch gives me is just some ability to leave some trail markers behind, some nighttime signaling, and then some ability to, you know, tie up a stick or something, to tie a flag up, or, you know, just some basic equipment for tying stuff up. This first pack is an old, you know, Alice pack M16 magazine pouch. Somebody has cut the sides off of it and took all the stuff, and the grommets even missing, so this one was in pretty bad shape. So I think I got it in trade for nothing basically. Somebody let me have it because they didn't like it anymore. But I like it perfect for this use because all this extra stuff is gone. It makes it a nice efficient pouch. And what I've got in here is an old Radio Shack CB radio, Citizens Band radio. So it's got this bottom part which allows it to be run off of the cigarette lighter in the vehicle and to be plugged into an external antenna. It's also got an antenna here. And then I've got the top unit, which is the CB, the radio, and then the bottom unit is the battery pack split in half so that they're not hooked up to anything. Hopefully the batteries are staying intact this way. And then the battery pack just snaps together and then attaches to the bottom of the CB, and the antenna would go on. And we've got battery, and we're watching here. The reason I like this particular one, the TRC 232, is because I can push that button and now it's scanning the entire 40 channels of Citizens Band radio for me. So I can quickly go to channel 9 with that button, or I can jump it back to scan. This way, if you're monitoring what's going on in the area, you can do it real easily. If for some reason you don't have batteries, you can replace them with rechargeable batteries and a solar setup, which is still something I'm lacking in my setup here. But if you don't have the batteries, for some reason, you can plug in this module. The first thing I pulled out of the pack, that plugs in, and that's where you plug it into the cigarette lighter in the vehicle. So this is a nice vehicle unit also. It's got a little lanyard on the side. It's got a sturdy belt clip on the back, metal. Nothing to it. Volume, squelch, your light, your up and down channels, your push to talk, and then the scan, and just a couple other fine-tuning type of buttons there. So anyway, this is a nice Citizens Band radio. So now I'm covered under the family channels. I've got the weather channels on this, and then I've also got Citizens Band covered, and I can communicate on this one. I've also got this external antenna, which I'm thinking of adding at least a connector here, so that I can improvise an antenna with some of the wire or something, or if I find an antenna. I have a backup family radio, which also has weather on it. This one's also an altimeter and a compass and that kind of stuff. Oh, and the nice thing about this one is it also scans, and I believe this one scans. So all three of these radios will scan the entire set of channels. And then the last thing in my communication sub pack here is this radio from CountyCom. It's a clock, alarm clock, and shortwave radio, FM radio, AM radio. And then there's an LED in here somewhere. I can make an LED light happen. So haven't had the best of luck with it, but I haven't given it a fair shake yet either. So a little bit more testing to be done with this one. There's an external antenna that I might improvise or buy from them. But basically this gives you some entertainment, potentially some education. These give you the ability to communicate. Having the redundant radios here gives me the chance, if someone I'm with doesn't have a radio, gives us the chance to actually use them as two-way radios, and then gives us both weather and, in this case, GPS coordinates. Now I usually have a redundant GPS as well, but I've taken that out and I haven't really had the inclination to put it back in, so I'm still debating whether or not I want to go with the second GPS as well. Anyway, that's my signaling and communication sub pack for the 3-day pack.